What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. So we are breaking down our second linebacker from the 2023 New York Jets undrafted free agent class. Talk about Caleb Johnson today from Miami. And to be honest, I found this to be another straightforward, pretty much review of what Caleb Johnson is and probably what his ceiling is, to be honest. Based on film and, of course, all the scouting reports that I was able to find and kind of break down and analyze. But this has the making of a guy that he feels more technically sound and kind of like an NFL player right out the gate than I expected. The ceiling obviously is a lot lower. There's obviously some other injuries and some things that crept up which would have kept him from being drafted. But I take a look at him, and to be honest, you could probably interchange him and Zaire Barnes. Not necessarily from a skill standpoint and what they do, but Zaire Barnes' ceiling is a lot higher. I don't necessarily think that there's anything more to it than that per se, outside of Zaire having a little bit more special teams expertise and stuff. But let's go ahead and dive into some of it. So 6 foot, 230 pounds. To the T, Joe Douglas went and got himself a Robert Saleh guy. Started his career off at UCLA with the Bruins. Played a couple years, ended up being a graduate transfer to Miami. Had some time in Texas somewhere in between there as well. I think he ended up ultimately playing for like 5 schools and a junior. But ultimately, he's somewhere in the range of about 1,200 snaps being played. Not a significant portion by any stretch of the imagination, but he definitely used each and every snap to his benefit. I think he's a lot more technically refined in terms of his technique and, understanding what it means to play linebacker and what he's being asked to do and what suits his skill sets the best. Now, coming off his 2022 season, 48 tackles, 1.5 sacks, forced 2 fumbles. He's not the biggest, play threat in terms of being able to force the ball and different things of that nature, but he was able to go out there and add 2 interceptions over the course of his career as well. A lot to like about his game. He's strong against the run, capable of setting the edge so he can go out there and make things happen for you. Great ball location, or great ball location tracking skills, I should say, right? What I mean by that is he has good traffic mobility and his being able to go out there and attack the ball carrier. Not only what I guess you can call internally, like, right, if you want to talk about like a Mike linebacker role, but also when he's on the outside, he's been able to go out there, fight through some tackles, fight through some guards, fight through some, screens from tight ends and different things of that nature, and go out there and make plays on the ball. And I find that pretty impressive at his size, the power he's able to go out there and generate to, bring a little bit of that force to the offensive playmakers as opposed to kind of waiting and reacting to it. Speaking of position versatility for him, Mike linebacker surprisingly might be his best role given his size with the way he's been able to go out there, knife through the middle. It's going to generally be less traffic than there is going to be on the outside where you can get picked up via wide receivers, tight ends, slot wide receivers, all of these different things. So kind of like his ability there, but he's also been able to, I won't say excel, but he's been able to play pretty favorably on the outside as well. So love that matchup for him. Wins leverage battles with low center of gravity. He has a spin move to him. Strong hands. So as I mentioned, him going out there and force the issue. He can jolt a lot of guys on the other side of the scrimmage, especially if you're going to line him up against like a tight end or a wide receiver or running back. He can go out there and, really, really take the 8 ball to them sometimes. High motor, strong pursuit ability. So he's not going to go out there and catch everybody, from behind. He did run a 4.40. I don't think he necessarily plays that quick on his tape. But I mean pursuit in terms of the effort to go out there, and he's not giving up until the play is done. So one of the things that I've loved most about him is I've seen him make some tackles within the same series, even within the same play, where I've seen him get hit a few different times that would have took him to the ground or, stunted a lot of his momentum. So definitely love the effort. Strong play diagnosis. Generally, he's not going to fall for things like ball fakes and misdirections, which is something you love, which is, I think, another huge trait which will make him very effective at the the Mike linebacker role. And, ultimately that position versatility. Inside, outside, you can do a little bit of both with them. Maybe kind of has a little bit of that Jamie Sherwood to him, for example. But I think ultimately with this guy, the skill set's definitely going to be different, as well as the athletic traits that he's bringing. Some of the things, though, as mentioned, what ended up causing him to be undrafted free agent, what is going to be some things he can work on and maybe not even be able to fix as part of his game with, some of his physical limitations. Makes tackles, but they're almost kind of like shoestring tackles. You see a lot of guys flying out of his arms. Not necessarily a violent hitter. I won't say fundamental tackling skills are a problem for him, but for as much strength and stuff as he can generate when he's going out there to rush and attack these guys, it's not even the strongest or the quickest guys that are getting away from him. Just in general, maybe it's the arm length, maybe it's the smaller stature, but he's a guy that you can see a lot of people just kind of, brushing off of him to a certain degree. So that's something that we would, want to be cautious of. Seen a lot of great New York Jets defenses fall victim to, a lot of poor missed tackles. Looking at you, Jordan Whitehead. But that's for another story. So outside of that, he's not going to be able to compete with athletic tight ends, some of the more elite athletic profiles you'll see out of running back. So that's going to be a situation where if he can't get to the play within the first second and a half, 2 seconds, generally it's going to be a problem for him, especially if you're talking about him covering guys that are coming out of the slot and different things like that he may be asked to do. He's going to struggle in man coverage. Generally, there's 2 reasons. He tends to play passive when he is in his coverage responsibilities, more specifically in man than when he's in zone. I think he is actually pretty decent in zone coverage, but he plays pretty passive. You'll see a lot of crossing, a lot of shallow routes where he'll allow his man to kind of run free instead of necessarily gliding with them as he should. And then he doesn't always get the proper depth on his pass drops. So he'll find himself out of position and too late to be able to go out there and actually get into the play. And as we mentioned, pursuit skills are strong, but he's not necessarily going to catch a lot of people from behind. Average speed and size. So again, he did run the 440, which looks great, but on film, I don't think you see that, translate. Also, in terms of him being able to play like the Mike linebacker role and stuff, I say that it's more so due to his skill set when it comes to, again, navigating traffic and stuff, but it's worth mentioning he couldn't beat out the starter from Miami that played the Mike linebacker role in Corey Flagg. And then in terms of the injuries, he has fought through some groin, shoulder, and arm injury issues, but ultimately I look at this guy and I think he's probably just a strong role player, right? A 2-down run stuffer. Hopefully you're putting him on those downs where he's going to be able to maximize his run capabilities, and you're not going to have to ask him to go out there and cover and do too many things. Shouldn't be a problem. They've kind of been able to do that pretty well with Bryce Huff, for example, maximizing his opportunities to just rush the passer and not have to worry about the run so much. So you feel good about, Caleb Johnson being able to get the reverse of those benefits. And yeah, I mean, you can always find a role for a guy like that. Obviously, when it comes to linebackers, though, the best part about having a strong unit is being able to not have to take any of those guys out in certain situations or obvious situations. 3rd and long, you're taking a guy out because he's not an effective rusher, or coverage-wise, different things like that. So Caleb Johnson, I would say he's useful to this team, whether that's presently or in the long term, just because generally the linebackers for us are going to be the guys that need to make the plays against the run to begin with. So having a guy that's already strong in that asset, I think is a huge bonus to us. But I can still see why he's an undrafted free agent. A lot of things that kind of caps his ceilings and what he can possibly do in this defense. But if there's a will, there's going to be a way with a guy like Robert Saleh coaching him. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on Caleb Johnson, and I'll catch you again. Peace.